Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Arthur Oken, he just fools around so much about what he's going to write in his articles, and he usually writes these great articles, and wait till you read the one coming up in December. I'm not going to tell anybody, but you'll figure it out. It's really good. And but let's talk about this one. You know, you did one on autism.
No.
You didn't do I'm sorry. You know what? That's somebody else. Okay, I was testing you.
I can answer.
No, you can't.
I'm well acquainted with
sorry,
autism,
right.
so.
No, this is the one on avoiding caffeine. I'm sorry. You had me. You know, he's done this puzzle that you're going to love. It's not a puzzle. What do you call it for December? It's
it's movies with numbers.
Yeah.
And you had to figure out what the
right.
the number and the first initials,
exactly.
what
he had me
what the
fooled
movie
with
was,
a lot.
and it was on mostly older movies.
Okay, so in the December issue, you get a chance to do it, and then the answers will be in January, unless they call you and they say, "Hey, wait, what is it?" Because you didn't offer them a prize. You see, if you offer them a prize, you'd be in real trouble.
Could always put the put in a discount or something.
Oh,
if you want. I could do that.
But then there would be a lot of discounts for anyone who gets it all right. No, then they'd have to send it back to us. That's a lot of stuff.
No, they just call us and tell us I saw the article. I want to get the I could change the wording. You got to call Dan real fast.
No, I will. We're not putting it into. Okay, well, we'll talk about that later because it's getting more interesting. Okay, but let's talk about. I was really surprised when you said avoid caffeine with certain drugs. Tell us about that.
Well, caffeine is really it's a chemical. It's actually considered the FDA considers it a drug. And so whether you know it or not, you are taking something that does interact with a lot of medications. So you have to be very careful. You have to make sure that you read the instructions that are on the bottle to tell you, because if you're taking certain products such as, I'm just trying to think. I'm actually drawing a senior moment. If you're taking medications, for anxiety, for example, it could actually hype you up even more rather than bring you down.
Well, okay, so I just want everyone to know you're listening to Arthur Oken, who is the owner of SavOn Global Meds, and every month he comes on with some wonderful, wonderful comments. We use a lot of his articles. People love them, and then he also has a great ad every month that shows you a sampling of how you can save 80% on your drugs. But I want to continue with the caffeine. There's a lot of articles you read. Some say coffee's good for you. Some say coffee isn't good for you. Do you drink coffee?
No. Never have.
Do you drink tea?
Iced tea.
So what's your drink of choice?
Iced tea.
Oh.
It was funny. I worked at one time for a Maxwell House Coffee, and I was attending the International Coffee Organization, and there had to be about 40 people representing various coffee companies, and we're sitting down to eat lunch, and everybody's going down, I'll have coffee. When it got to me, I said, I'll have tea. And everyone stared at me. I said, well, we are actually a coffee and tea company.
That's funny. Well, but there are so many different kinds of coffee now. See, I think Starbucks did a lot for coffee, and they did it. They're making coffee that takes all these different ingredients and adds to it. And I find that their coffee is very strong. I'm not a coffee drinker. I rarely drink coffee, but their coffee is just really strong.
Well, a lot of the advent came about when they started using flavors in the coffees. And so people come in and they make up this concoction of drinks, My wife, for example, loves vanilla and she loves caramel. So she pours vanilla and caramel, liquids into to her coffee so she can have it. It's weird.
Right. Well, and then there are the people who, of course, come from Latin America or Italy, and they have this very strong coffee called espresso.
Yes.
And you talk about they should really be careful taking any of that with their drugs, I would think.
Yes, you have to be very careful. You must read the instructions that the pharmacy is required to put on the label, and also the pharmacy is required also to tell you, and the information sheet that goes along, not what not to take. There's a lot of medications that you can't have with grapefruit juice.
Why is that?
Because it interacts with the medication.
Why grapefruit juice?
It happens to be a very common situation, particularly with antibiotics.
Really? Am I glad you told me that? Because I usually try, when I can, to buy one beautiful grapefruit, and I make grapefruit juice.
Well, you have to limit it. I mean, you just can't go crazy with it. The same thing with coffee. Nothing says that you can't have a light coffee, when you're taking these medications. They're talking about not over. The worst thing that you can be doing with medications is taking alcohol.
Drinking.
Oh, God Almighty,
yeah.
that's you're inviting potential danger when you're using alcohol with medications.
Well, I think what happens too is people get these medications, and I don't think they read the directions. They don't. They just take them. They may take 2, 1 in the morning, 1 at night, but I don't think they read the interactions.
Well, the one of the medications, Coumadin, probably you've heard of that one, has so many limitations of what you can do with it, with the foods that you can take, that they've come out with so many replacements for blood thinners and anticoagulants that aren't affected by foods. A friend of mine went on to Coumadin, or he went on the generic version, and I said to him, I says, you're a big salad eater? He said, yeah. I says, take a look. You're not going to be able to eat a lot of salads with this.
Why is that?
It interacts with the medication.
Salad?
Yeah, you could. I believe you could have butter, the butter lettuce.
But you can't have. You can't
the regular
have
lettuces with it. Yeah.
romaine and things like that. I mean, it's too strong.
You have to be very careful, and you must read those instructions. You have to. I mean, I just got a medication, and my wife said, "Oh, you have to refrigerate it after you open it." And I'm looking at the instructions, and I go, "No, you refrigerate it when you get it home, and then after you open it, you don't have to refrigerate it." So.
No, wait a minute. That does not make sense. Okay. Why would that make sense? You refrigerate it before you open it, but then you don't have to open it. You don't have to refrigerate it.
There's a number of Yeah, that's. I'm taking a glaucoma medication, and I just found out, that it has to be refrigerated. There's another one, an inhaler called Foradil. It used to have to be refrigerated, and a lot of the old pharmacists keep it that way, but the manufacturer did tell them that it's not necessary to refrigerate it anymore. So if you were going to a pharmacy with an older pharmacist, he's refrigerating it, and then you could take it home, and you don't have to refrigerate it. So there's so many instructions that you really must read the labels.
So Arthur, I'm going to let you explain what your company does. I could do it, but why don't we let you you talk so well. Let's talk about someone who makes that phone call, and we'll give you the number afterwards. Tell them what you do and why you love it so much.
Okay. The United States, the drug manufacturers have almost no controls over them as to what they could charge, and they could charge an arm and a leg, as a lot of your listeners will know by now, and also our clients. And when they put in the Medicare Plan D, which was the drug plan, they specifically said that Medicare could not negotiate prices, unlike the Veterans Administration. So you, the drug user, are going to be hit for some very heavy pricing here in the U.S. if you're buying what we call a Tier 3, Tier 4, or a not covered medication. In Europe, almost every country in Europe has universal coverage, and the country negotiates with the manufacturers. So the manufacturers have to make product outside of the U.S. where they can make it less expensive. Still has to be the same patented product, and so many of them make the products in, let's say, Turkey, which is surprising, but Turkey has an arrangement with the European equivalent of the FDA, and they're able to export medications at a ridiculously lower price than what we pay here in the U.S. for the identical medication. We, as a company, are a call center for a New Zealand pharmacy, large New Zealand pharmacy, and they operate the same as a lot of the Canadian pharmacies, only we found that they give us some really good prices. And we can order GlaxoSmithKline's Advair, which sells for one price, and we get it for a fraction of that price here in the U.S. Now, what happens is you, as the let's say you're on Medicare and you're on a Medicare drug plan, you then say you have a copay. Maybe you have $130, $150 copay, but that drug also has a $600 or $700 retail value. And that retail value is what goes into the donut hole, what makes up the donut hole. And when you get into that donut hole, you're going to all of a sudden be paying, right now it's 40% of the retail value. We have a product, a very particularly popular one called Multac. People are paying $120, $130, $140 with their insurance for 3 months, but it's got a $1,700 retail value. So that means that once you got into that donut hole, and your donut hole, let's see, 40% of 1,700 is $680. What am I doing? Yeah, it's in that range. 1,700, it'd be 34, 68. You would be paying $680 when you get into the donut hole. Well, clients are calling us and they're buying the Multac from us for, less than the $680, but that goes down to almost all the products that are tier 3, tier 4. Then a lot of people have deductibles. So when you're ordering a very inexpensive medication, let's say you were paying $20 a month, which would be $60 for 3 months, and you go into your pharmacy at the beginning of the year, and the pharmacist says, well, that'll be now $260. And you go, why? You have a deductible and you're a tier 3, tier 4 product. You're going to have to pay the deductible. So they give us a call and they say, I want to get my medication, and I'm giving it to them for a fraction of what they would be paying. The whole insurance, as far as the setup, it's really anti-consumer, pro-drug company, pro-insurance.
And so I know you started out doing this because you were having an insurance situation yourself, and then you helped some of your neighbors, and they helped other people, and they kept talking about you, and you decided then to start a company that did this. So with the prices then that you get them from New Zealand is why you can offer them so low.
Well, we don't necessarily get the New Zealand's like Canada. Canada, if you buy from Canadian online pharmacies, only about 15% of what you're getting is made in Canada. It's a small country. They don't really have that much manufacturing capabilities. So they are allowed to order, from various countries to bring it into Canada because they have a national universal insurance. And
so
as well
New Zealand's a small country also.
Same thing, universal. We're one of the few countries that doesn't have a universal medical and drug program. The drug companies argue, well, we have to make a lot of products here in the United States, and we have to pass that developmental charge on to you. Well, they're not passing it on to Europe.
Yeah.
They're passing it on to the U.S. And the other thing that's mind-boggling is they spend more money on marketing than they do on R&D. And we're the only country besides one other small country that advertises drugs on television.
And so why is that they?
Well, they want you to.
Why don't they charge Europe and those other places more money?
Because they have to keep the prices down because
Why?
it's the only way they could sell it there. They have to negotiate prices with all these countries. France says, okay, give me your best price, and if it's too expensive, I'll go to a competitive product, and we'll carry that instead of that one.
I see.
The drug companies here in the U.S., there's anticoagulant, very popular, Eliquis and Xarelto. A lot of the insurance companies will cover one, but they won't cover the other because it costs them too much money. They don't have a good deal on it. We carry both, and they happen to be two of our biggest sellers. And they're two of the products that I told you have that ridiculously high retail value once you get past that initial copay.
So to avoid the donut hole, what should someone do?
They call us. You can give them the telephone number
right
now.
I'm going to do that right now. Everybody, you're not buying donuts, by the way. You're going to give you the phone number to get your medication. You keep hearing about the donut hole. Right. There's nothing in a donut hole. Do you know that? Okay. This is the phone number. I love every time you say that. The phone number, I'm going to give you a toll-free number because I know this extends a lot of places in South Florida. It's 1-888-980-8564. I'll do that again. Get your pencils out. 1-888-980-8564. Now, they are open Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 5:30. It's a long time. They don't even go to lunch. There's someone, right, that will answer that phone. Listen, you call a lot of medical offices, and there's no one to talk to you between 12 and 2. You know that?
Yes.
Okay, well, we're not doing that here at SavOn. It's Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. You should be able to take care of it. They do have a local phone number, but let's just give you the toll-free because I want to do it so you don't get confused. Just make that one phone call. It's 888-980-8564. And, of course, they're on the web, too. And that's another thing. If you go on their website, you'll see that they have a lot of things there because they can't possibly show you all the medication that they have on that one page. So the website is SavOn Medical.
Global.
SavOn Global.
Medical. Meds.
SavOn Global Meds.com, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm looking. Yeah, here it is, right. SavOnGlobalMeds.com. And the global is really because you get this from so many places, right? Is that where you came up with the global?
So people ask us, we tell them it takes 3 to 4 weeks. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks for the product to arrive. And they go, why? I said, well, let's put it this way. The product may be coming from filled in a Turkish pharmacy. Turkey then mails it to either the UK or Germany. They then mail it to JFK Airport in New York, and then that comes down to the main post office in South Florida, and then on to your local post office. Global is a major word.
Right. So that's why you have to really get people to order this ahead of time because you're not going to be able to provide it.
We tell everyone
quickly.
who calls us to tell them that you have to allow at least 4 weeks for the product to arrive, and we don't want you to run short. We also tell them that when you're down to a 1 month supply on the refill, and it's all in the letter that we send them, to give us a call. And if we haven't heard from you, we call them to remind them. And a lot of our customers appreciate, that we do call them, particularly the ones that forget.
Yeah, of course.
Unfortunately, sometimes they forget too late.
Yeah.
We try to get hold of them. We do have a lot of snowbirds who go up north.
But you service them anywhere.
Oh, yeah, they let us know when they're going to be up there. One of the things that which is a wonderful happening for us is we have a lot of doctors who prescribe an expensive medication, and the doctor says it is expensive, and they say, well, it's too expensive. He says, here, call these people.
Good.
And they give us a call.
That's a wonderful thing. Have you been anybody terrorizing you, any of the other companies, about doing what you do? Have you heard anybody?
No, because we
you?
operate differently. We're really not we have a website more for just to tell people that we're real. We're not competitive to the Canadians because we just don't. We're a small operation. We're here we're in Lake Worth actually, and we're basically a telephone center. We're not a online pharmacy. The reason that we're a telephone center is New Zealand. It's tomorrow in New Zealand right now, and it's they won't be opening up until around 4:00 our time, so it's a little hard for them to operate. So they use a number of affiliated companies here in the U.S. and it works out well. It really works out well.
And one thing you've explained, because I'm sure that was the one reason why maybe people were worried about going to someone that wasn't the pharmaceutical company directly, because that you're getting things from out of the country, and they're concerned, is it as good as what we have in the country? And you have a great explanation for that.
Well, the branded products, the manufacturer has to make it the same everywhere they make it. It's patented product. It may, if it's coming from Turkey, it's going to be a Turkish box. It's going to be in Turkish, but you will see the brand. You will see the name of the manufacturer, and the pills will have the same identification that they have here in the U.S.
The same color.
Same color and the same number. All pills are numbered. So if you are supposedly getting branded medication and from overseas, and it's not the same appearance, then they may be switching a generic to you, or they may be putting a placebo in. The online had a notoriously bad reputation due to companies that would say, "Oh, buy from us, you don't need a prescription." That should be a warning to anyone. We do require prescriptions. Those prescriptions end up in New Zealand as soon as we get them, and then they in turn will be ordering from their pharmacy to the overseas, and that's important. So you have to be aware. A lot of the storefronts, they found out in California, a lot of them were selling fake products. But if the pill or capsule or the medication doesn't look like the one that you have here in the U.S., I would become suspect. Now, the one thing that you have to be aware of is in Europe, a lot of times it has a different name. And one of the ones that I put in my articles are that Advair, Discus or Advair HFA inhaler in Europe is called Seretide, Seretide. And but when you get it, it will be the identical looking bottle. It'll have the Seretide Discus. It'll be the identical looking one. You'll see GlaxoSmithKline on it, and you know that you're getting the identical product. Call us anytime that you're concerned. The one thing that people like, because we're local, is if they want to talk to us and they want to get our opinions. We're not a pharmacy, but I did work for a couple of drug companies, and I will not, tell you what to use. I will always tell you to go to your doctor, but I will try to give you as much advice. Someone did receive a product, not from us, and they said it doesn't look like the product that we always get, and I said, you didn't order it from us. And they said, well, I didn't order it from you. Some of the older people get confused sometimes, and a lot of the names sound alike. So we told them, check with you can't go into your pharmacy and ask them because the product's coming from overseas, so they don't even know what it looks like.
Right.
We do have a lot of products that are mind-boggling expensive. I think I told you last time. I saw on television a product called Harvoni. It's for hepatitis C. It will cure hepatitis C. Unfortunately, it's $97,000 for a 3-month supply. And it should take, from what I understand, it will heal you within 6 months. So, or even 45 days, depends on how effective it is. That's a lot of money to come up with to try to get out of this, to get out of that. We do have a generic available for about $1,400 for a 3-month supply versus $97,000. We feel terrible giving someone a price of $1,400. I mean, it was just, but and we try to be, and we're trying to keep the price down on specialty drugs because it's giving with a heart, and so we don't take the type of profit margins on cancer drugs, on the hepatitis C, on the multiple sclerosis drugs. So and even, some of the prices people go, you're charging how much? You can't possibly be charging that low and make a profit. It's because we're getting it, and it's in the European market. It happens to be ridiculous that if we can save them up to 70%, sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's 40, but I've had people, a woman called up and she says, I'm calling the Better Business Bureau. Why are you calling the Better Business Bureau? Because you're a fake. Why am I a fake?
You're kidding.
Because you're selling generic Zetia. This was about 2 years ago. I said, yes, we do sell generic Zetia. Well, I called up the manufacturer, and they said that they do not. There is no generic Zetia. I says, madam. I said, she's getting very belligerent at this point. So I said, madam, I said, they do make it's off patent overseas, and we have access to it, and you have the benefit of getting it. Don't call me madam, she tells me.
So what happened?
I hung up.
Isn't that something?
It is. It's just.
But it doesn't happen often, though, right? Every once in a while, but you don't have.
No, very seldom. Very seldom.
Right.
Very seldom.
And you're such a nice man. You're
not
so
a pharmacy.
honest.
We're not a pharmacy. We're only a call center,
right.
And we're there to save people money.
Right. Well, Arthur Oken, you are just a dream. I just love talking with you, and let's just be sure to call, and I will give you the website. That's a good thing to get on, and it's SavOn, SAVON, Global, GLOBAL, Meds, MEDS.com. And you can get there, and they'll be able to see a lot more than you have on the page here.
Right. We don't have a lot of prices on it, but we do have a whole list.
Right.
We have a sample of prices. I haven't updated it in a while.
You will. You do a lot. All right. And the phone number, again, toll-free, is 888-980-8564. They are open Monday to Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And we certainly thank you so much for coming here.
It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.